All right, today we're jumping into one of the absolute titans of literature, Goethe's Faust. It's this epic masterpiece about ambition, temptation, all that good stuff. But what if I told you that its core DNA, the very engine that drives the whole story, was actually lifted from a much, much older text, an ancient story you'd probably never expect? So let's get into it. So, what is this secret key, this hidden blueprint that Goethe used to build his masterpiece? Well, the answer is a wild story about faith, unimaginable suffering, and, yeah, a high stakes bet with the devil. Of course, we're talking about the biblical book of Job. And as you're about to see, this isn't just a loose inspiration. The connection is so direct, it's kind of shocking. Okay, so first up, the prologue in heaven. Honestly, this is the smoking gun. The most undeniable piece of evidence is right there at the start of the play. It's not just a subtle nod or a thematic echo. No, this is a full-on structural homage. And this was completely intentional. Goethe didn't just stumble into this. He deliberately based this scene on the opening of Job. He even wrote it in this old-fashioned, archaic German style because he wanted to give it that grand biblical feel of the original text. He was practically shouting, "Hey, pay attention, this is important." He wanted you to make the connection. I mean, the parallels are just wild when you put them side by side. Both stories kick off in a divine court up in heaven. In Job, Satan just kind of shows up with the sons of God, have a shot with the big guy. In Faust, Mephistopheles casually strolls into a meeting of archangels. And in both stories, what happens? The bad guy challenges God about one of his favorite humans, and it leads to a massive cosmic bet. It's the exact same dramatic setup. So let's look at the characters, because this is where it gets really clever. Goethe didn't just copy and paste Job and Satan. That would be too easy. Instead, he took these ancient archetypes, the faithful servant and the cosmic bad guy, and he totally rebooted them for a more modern, philosophical world. And he even leaves us this massive clue right in the text. In both the book of Job and in Faust, when God talks about the hero of the story, he uses the exact same phrase, my servant. Not that guy I like, but specifically, my servant. That's Goethe drawing a direct line, connecting these two characters across thousands of years. But, and this is a huge but, the servants themselves could not be more different. Job is pitched to us as this perfect and upright guy. He does everything by the book. Faust? Oh, Faust is a hot mess. He's this brilliant, celebrated scholar who's just bored. He's so disillusioned with life that he's willing to do anything, to risk anything for a new experience. Now, for the adversary. In the book of Job, Satan's role is pretty clear-cut. His name literally means the accuser, and he acts like a heavenly prosecutor. His whole argument is that human faith is just a transaction. He basically says, people are only good to you, God, because you give them good stuff. Take it away and they'll curse your name. But Mephistopheles, wow, this is Goethe's genius twist. He's not just an accuser. In fact, God describes him as a necessary evil, a prod and poke to keep humanity on its toes and stop us from getting lazy. And here's the crucial part. Mephistopheles' cynical games and temptations actually end up serving God's bigger plan. They're the fuel that keeps Faust striving, pushing, and searching for more. So the devil is, ironically, doing God's work. Okay, and this brings us to the real genius of what Goethe did. He took the whole point of Job's story and he completely flipped it on its head. He inverted the entire premise to talk about the big questions of his own time, the Enlightenment era. So check out this inversion. Job is tested through loss, right? His family, his money, his health. It's all stripped away to see if his faith will crack. Faust is tested by the exact opposite, gain. Mephistopheles throws everything at him, youth, unlimited power, every pleasure imaginable. It's a test of excess, not a test of endurance. And that completely changes the rules of the wager. Faust doesn't lose his soul if he curses God in a moment of pain, like Job was tempted to do. No, Faust loses his soul only if he becomes happy. If he finds a moment so perfect, so utterly satisfying, that he wants to stop time and just stay there forever. He loses if he stops striving. So let's just quickly trace this perfect inversion. 1, the test. For Job, it's loss. For Faust, it's gain. 2, the stakes. Job fails if he curses God. Faust fails if he ever stops trying to achieve more. And finally, 3, redemption. Job gets his old life back on earth because of his faith. But Faust is saved by divine grace, precisely because he never ever stopped striving. So the ultimate message is totally different.
Job finds his salvation by humbling himself, by accepting that there are limits to what a human can and should understand. But Faust, this new modern man, he's saved for the exact opposite reason. He's saved because he relentlessly pushed against every single limit, and all his mistakes and sins were just part of that noble, endless search for more.
And that just leaves us with this incredible question for ourselves, doesn't it? If Faust is the new model for humanity, a person who is saved because of his ambition, not in spite of it, what does that say about our own lives? About our endless striving for knowledge, for new experiences, for purpose? It's a powerful thought to end on, and it just shows the timeless genius of Goethe's secret blueprint, a blueprint he borrowed straight from the Book of Job.